Alright, so now let's go to a new chapter. In this chapter we will talk about the UI. So yeah, the scripts in this chapter is going to be a little bit simpler than what we talk about the control configure. So it's shorter, but actually but still you need to read through the code. That's important. Yeah, I repeat that several times. It's important. Okay, so let's see. This is the thing we're trying to explain. We're trying to build. So let me first demo the capability of this small game. What are we doing here? Let's execute it. Okay, so you can see we actually have a name and a health bar for that sphere. A name and health bar for that sphere. And what we can do is we can shoot. And the health bar will be reduced. Yeah. Okay. So it's that. So this kind of thing usually appears when you are playing some of the RPG game. You have health bar on top of a character. Yeah. And some FPS game you also have health bar, but it's not, maybe it's not on top of that character, but it's somewhere on your screen. So we have different strategy to implement that. So let's see how do we implement here? Okay. Okay, first, yeah, I'd like to switch this sphere to, yeah, I think this sphere is not a good example, so I'd like to make it like anyway, I want to switch it with a cube. So let's do this. Let's copy component. Component values. Okay. And then there's actually nothing here. Okay. And then we disable the sphere. We have a cube. Okay, let's pretend this cube is a character. I use cube because I want to see when I rotate the camera. I would like you to see what's happening there. Okay, so let's split the screen. So at the left side is whatever you will see when the game is start to execute, and the right side is the thing we are editing the game. So okay, so let's see. I think there's a feature that is very important when you are playing those RPG game. Is the health bar on top of that character. So no matter from which perspective you look at your camera, right, the name tag and the health bar is always facing that camera, right? Yeah, any idea of that? Yeah. So it's always facing the camera. However, but if you look, for example, if you look from back of a character, everything the name, the health bar is still shown to you. You can still see the health bar and the name in the correct order from the correct perspective. So that is to see we have to make the health bar and the name tag always facing the camera. Always facing the camera. Okay. Yes.
So does that mean like adding it as an object to an empty object like us, so that it would only change? So do you understand what I'm saying? Like what we were doing with the two cubes, but instead of like moving its position, you don't want to be able to rotate. You want to take inputs from the rotation.
Yeah, it's gonna be something like there will be rotation there, but it's not purely rotation. We're using some other function there to detect what is actually the direction that the name tag should face. Yeah, of course, when you change direction, it is rotating basically. It's rotating, but we're not like just manipulating how much we're rotating that. Instead, we are using that function. I'm going to explain that. Okay, so let's see here. You know what I'm talking about. So whenever if you are moving the camera, so from the right side you can see those names. They're always facing the camera. So if we like move the camera here and rotate here, let's go to the other side. See, we have everything always facing the camera. Yeah, you can see that clearly from the right side of the window. So whenever we are moving the camera, we can see that thing is rotate. Even it's up or down, up or down, you can see the health bar is actually facing the camera. Up and down, up and down. Okay. Yeah. So if you see that from here, you can find that property of the health bar and the name tag. So how can we do that? Before we're talking about how can we do that, there's one thing I need to mention here. Is this health bar? We use a quad to implement that. But if you look carefully into the hierarchy panel, you can see that's actually 2 quad there instead of 1. Yeah. Do you know the reason why we're using 2 quad instead of 1? Yeah.
Because one you have to have like the background, the other one's in front of that. And that reasons. You can't show like a
Yeah, that's I would say that's a more advanced version of the health bar you're thinking about. But here, it's not that reason we're using 2 quads. Let me show you. Then real quick, then you will know why we're using 2 quads. So the quad is here, 3D object, quad. Yeah, okay. So as you can see, we have a quad here, right? All right, let's see if I'm rotating the quad. Let's see what's gonna happen. See? Yeah, the quad is not rendered at the back side. It's only rendered at the one side. So why do we have 2? Yeah, we want both sides to be seen by the camera. So if we somehow move the camera to the back side, we need that. We need another quad. Yeah. So that's the reason we're using 2 quad. But it actually doesn't matter here because the quad is always facing the camera. Right? Just a reminder that the quad will only be rendered at the front side, not the back side. Okay, let's remove the quad from the thing. Alright, and the name tag, name tag here. This is actually a game object. Damage reports. The name tag. It's actually, we create the name tag from here. Game object, 3D object, 3D text. So it's basically a 3D text. So because it's 3D text, it has all these properties here. It has X, Y, but Z, but it basically it's have X, Y, but it's just like it acts like 2D, but still it has all those properties there. Yeah, so that's text. And here, if you actually select one of the 3D text, you can see the same property like a transform here, the mesh renderer here, and also the text mesh. So here, the name tag here, we can change the text that is showing to the user, to the player, and everything you see from here. Every properties that include this text, the content of this text, and the offset, the color, any property you can see from here, from this inspect panel. You can change that, manipulate that through your script. So that's how we change the thing from name tag to whatever the name of that character. Okay. And yeah, anything you can see from here, you can change in the script. And a lot of things that is not here, you can also change that from script. Yeah. How do you know what can I change? It's all in the documentation. You can, yeah, whenever you need to use that, you can always refer to the documentation. And sometimes sometimes it's intuition. It's intuition. So whenever you have transform, so we have transform component for everything. So you kind of saying, you can guess what kind of functions are there in the transform. We should have a translate function. We should have at least transform and rotation function, right? Because otherwise, why are we using transform? We are manipulating the transform, we are translating, we are rotating the transform. So sometimes it's intuition. You know that there should be some properties or functions there, so you can just hit the dot. It will have all those options. You can search, and if you don't know exactly the function, what the function looks like, you can refer to the documentation. So it's pretty simple. It makes pretty easy. If you have ever learned computer graphic, I think most of you will learn that. Yeah, computer graphic. You will find how easy it is to programming to do scripting in this kind of game engine. Because the translation, just the translation, it's just one function here. However, if you are using the not game engine, if you're coding from C++ with OpenGL, you know there will be 100 lines, maybe 100 lines there. Especially when you have a huge hierarchy you want to translate, like human body. Yeah, it's not only transfer or rotating one simple object. So when you rotate the arm, when I rotate my shoulder, rotate this forearm and upper arm, the hand, they follow that translation. They follow that rotation. So yeah, it's pretty complicated, but here it's pretty simple. Okay, so name tag, the quad. All right. So how do we make everything that keep facing the camera? So that is actually a script we put here. This GUI 3D function. No, 3D script. Sorry, it's not here. So it should be here. No, let's see. Card bar length. Okay, card bar length. Okay, it's here. What we use is this lookat function. There's a lookat function in the transform. In the transform component of every single object inside this thing. So we have everything we have transform, then we should be able to use this lookat function. So what this lookat function do is, we can type it here. Try to type it here. A health bar transform. Okay, lookat function. So they actually have we have 3 overloads of this lookat function, which means there are 3 different ways we can use this lookat function. First is we give another function, another transform. We're using 2 of them here. First is we're using another transform, option 1. We are using another transform to give that transform as a parameter to this lookat function. So this lookat function is from the health bars transform. So what it does is it make the health bars forward direction facing the camera, facing that camera.main.transform. So the camera.main.transform actually returns the transform of the camera. So yes, easy to understand, to read, like lookat, make the health bar look at the camera. That's the lookat. So we're making lookat. So at the behind the lookat function, it's adjusting, it's rotating that quad and make the forward direction of the quad facing the camera. So so that's how we understand this lookat function, the option 1 of the lookat function. But sometime you do something different. Here is we name tag transform lookat. We, instead of giving the main camera's rotation, instead of giving the main camera's transform, we use a new vector. So it's camera's position X, camera position Y, and camera position Z. We create a vector 3. So you know what is a vector? Yeah. So inside this computer graphics thing, we can use a vector to represent a direction. Okay. So here we're using this vector as a direction. So look at this direction, at the camera's direction. So we make the name tag. We make the name tag's forward position, forward direction to match the direction defined by the camera. So we make that facing the camera as well. And I think you may notice here we have put this negative here. So why we're doing that? Yeah, let's see.
Otherwise, it faces the same direction as the camera.
No, it's facing the camera. It's still facing the camera. It's not like we look at the camera's forward position. It's the look at function make us look at the camera itself, not look at the camera's forward position. Like you're looking at me, all of you are looking at me, and I'm looking at that direction. But you're using look at function to me, but not the direction I am looking at. Like we are looking at different direction, opposite direction. Oh, so the look at here is the same. Suppose I'm the camera, you look at me. But why it's giving the negative here? Yeah, if it's like this. It's because if you actually click this name tag, you can find that the forward position of the name tag is actually at the back. You see that arrow? You see this blue arrow? Yeah, that's actually the forward direction of the name tag. So yeah, if you look at this chord, not this chord, yeah. If you this chord, the chord forward position is actually forward. It's in the front, right? The blue one, yeah. But the name tag, the 3D text is different. Yeah, that's why because their forward direction is different. We want the name to always face us at the back side. I don't know why they are doing that, but here, yeah, we want that text to face a different position. Yeah.
So with the quad, you just give it the actual position, not the x, y, and z separate. So it's independent. Could you do that with the name that you want to put a negative sign in front of it?
Yeah, let's try. Are you seeing we replace this with this transform? Yeah. Let's see. Let's see what's gonna happen. See here? We'll look at the back side. Yeah, we'll look at the back side. So why? Because we make the forward direction of that object facing the camera. It's like someone of you, everyone of you. Suppose everyone of you have your name on your shirt, but someone have the name in front of you, but someone have your name attached to the back of your body. So in order to see the name of all of you, someone have to face me, someone have to face back. So that's why we're doing that. So yeah, why we have those negative here is all because the forward position of the name tag is a little bit tricky. It's actually the forward position is actually at the back side of that name tag. Yeah, that's why we're using this negative. Okay. Yeah, speaking of the vector, so if there, suppose we have inside this space, suppose I have a position, right, x, y, and z. Suppose there's a 0, 0, 0 over there. So according to that 0, 0, 0, I have a position x, y, and z, and you will have a position x, y, and z, right? So if I want to look at you, first way is I give the look at function of your transform. Another way is I give your position, like x, y, and z, as the parameters to the lookat function. And what it is really doing is it's actually calculating the direction I should facing. So the direction is calculated by your position minus my position. It's gonna be a direction, the direction I should face. So the direction is a vector. So a vector minus a vector is another vector. Vector minus vector is another vector. So the third vector is the direction from the first vector, from the second vector to the first vector. So remember that. Some math theory. Okay, then yeah, where are we? Lookat function, yeah. So we will use lookat function to make everything always facing the camera, right? Okay, so that's how we do that. So this is a character. The cube is actually a character. And whenever you adjust the camera, see, the character itself won't rotate, change the direction with the camera. However, only the health bar and the name tag, it change. Yeah, that is important. Because we are not attaching that. We're not attaching the same script. We're not attaching script. The script is actually it's actually here in the main camera. In the main camera, we have this script to control whatever should face the camera. Like here, the health bar, the name tag, they are both public variables defined in the script so that you can actually drag things into that. So, but here, if I replace the name tag with this cube, what's gonna happen is that cube, okay, we cannot do that because it's defined as a text. Yeah, health bar. If we're replacing the health bar with this cube, let's see what's gonna happen. The health bar is not rotating, but instead the cube is always facing the camera. Yeah, let's change it back. Cool. Okay. Yeah, that's how we make it facing the camera. And then when we actually execute this project, see, we actually have those projectile to shoot. So how can we implement that? But whenever I shoot those projectile, you can see I have some new object here in the hierarchy panel. You can see it appears, but then it's disappeared. Yeah, why we're doing that? Why it disappears? It's because whenever you put a new object into the thing, it actually increases the cost for your computer to render that object. But something like this projectile, like the bullet we shoot from the gun, it's actually appear there for a while, and then it's useless. So we want to remove it, clean it from the thing as well. So let's see how we do that. First, how we initialize the projectile is we use a thing called prefab. Okay. So inside this thing, you can see there's one thing called sphere. So how do we create? And whenever we drag this into the thing, we will have this object initialized in this thing. But what we do is not we put everything there already. It's during the runtime, whenever we need to shoot that projectile, we initialize that object. So we don't need that. We don't need that to be predefined. We want to do it in the real time. So it's controlled in here, this fire script. And it's pretty simple, just 4 lines here. So if input.get button down fire 1, we have a game object instantiate projectile, and we call this function instantiate bullet, and we gave a new vector. We gave a vector that actually tells you the position wherever you want to instantiate that prefab in your thing. So this is a position. And orientation. So it really doesn't matter here because it's a sphere. The rotation doesn't matter. But we still need to provide that. We still need to provide that information. Okay. Yeah, hope you can read. Okay. So, and also we have more importantly, we have a destroy function here. So after 2 seconds, we destroy the thing we just instantiate. We just initialized. Yeah. So this is a destroy function. It's predefined. You can just call it with a parameter as a time. And then, yeah. So this is a instantiate the projectile. We call the instantiate function, and this is actually the prefab itself. This is the prefab, and we gave a position to the prefab. We gave the orientation of the prefab. So how can we give the position? Is we use transform.position.x. So what is this transform? It is the transform of the camera. So why it is the transform of the camera? Because this script is attached to the camera. So by default, whatever object you attach this script to, so when you call the transform, it will be that object's transform. So it is using the camera's transform, camera's position, and camera's orientation to instantiate the projectile. And how can we get this? The bullet. It is actually that sphere we were talking about here in this assets. It's not anywhere here in this hierarchy panel. You can find it in your assets folder. So how can we do that? How can we read that prefab from your script? It's simple. Remember, we talk about public variables. So if we look at here, under the fire script, we actually have a bullet sphere. So we can drag this prefab here in this sphere. Then it will call the instantiate function whenever it is required. Okay. Okay, here we just need to select another. Yeah, somewhat yellow. Okay, this yellow material, and we can apply it to this sphere. And so right now this sphere this sphere here. It's only one of the game object inside the hierarchy panel in this thing. So how do we create a prefab? How do we create prefab? It's here. We drag it from the hierarchy window to the assets. See? So this actually becomes a prefab. Let's see, sphere test. Okay, so and we don't need that anymore in this thing. So we did remove it, delete it, and can anyone tell me how can we shoot the yellow sphere instead of the blue one? Yeah, we drag this prefab to this bullet here. Hopefully it's working. Okay, it's not working because there's some other script attached to the blue sphere that controls the movement. So if we copy component, yeah, this should work. It's still a little bit different because I didn't set up the physics for this prefab yet. But anyway, you have ways to set it up to make it behave exactly the same as this blue projectile. Yeah, so that's the idea behind the prefab. So yeah, prefab. So that's how we do the prefab to initialize. Let's change it back. So why all this script, including the Squid 3D, which controls the rotation of the health bar and the name tag? This file, it controls how we shoot this projectile. So why are all those scripts attached to the camera? It's because right now in this thing, the camera is more like a global object there. So whenever you go, you still have a camera there. But sometimes I use another practice. Another practice is I am kind of creating an empty project like a script holder. Sometimes I want my program have more structure. So you feel free to do that. Like you create an object, call it script manager, something like that. But please feel free to do that. And since we can just drag and set it up from anywhere, so it should be fine. And for the file, if you are not attaching it to the camera, but if you are still using the camera's position, you need to find your camera's position first. Yeah. Okay. And another thing is from here, one thing I don't know if you actually notice is whenever I shoot the projectile, the health bar reduced, no matter it hit or not. See, it's not hit yet, but the health bar has been reduced, right? Because I'm instead of doing the collision detection, I'm actually faking. I'm doing a fake collision detection. Whenever I press a button, I shoot something, I make the health bar reduced. But that's not the way we want. So let's see how can we change from the fake detection. See here, this is a fake. Inside this update function, we have this fake detection. Okay, so whenever we have a button pressed, we change the health bar. We change the health bar. That's the logic here. However, we don't want it that way. what we want is a real collision detection. How can we do that? Is let's set up something here. Yeah. So we do need a collider here. Yeah. To do the collision detection, what is a collision detection? Collision detection is in this thing. So if you want to detect whether those two objects they collide each other, they hit each other, you need to do the collision detection. So usually it's pretty, it's a topic. It's very complicated topic. But here we use something simple. We just detect, because this is a box. So you just need to detect whether there's something colliding within the box, or if it is a sphere, you just need to detect if the center point of the two objects, the distance is less than the radius of that sphere, then you can see the detect. But that's the basic theory behind it. And usually we don't need to do that ourselves. We just need to set up a collider here. We need to set up a collider here. Then we're able to do the collision detection. And right now we don't have any collision detection, and we will do the collision detection. Okay, we don't have enough time today, but we will talk about this collision detection in the next class on Tuesday. And meanwhile, please read the project requirements and start working on the project. All right, thank you.